Guys, amongst the number of things that often confuse people about the law, I think what we're going to talk about today takes the cup. This one leaves people restless. Often people are uncertain about their future and they're so stressed because they don't know what's going to happen. What am I talking about here? I'm talking about the fact that you might end up paying child maintenance for a child that's not biologically yours, or because you're married to the parent of that child. There are people who are currently paying maintenance towards stepchildren because their spouses are unable to do so. And for the life of them, they cannot understand how it is that they fit into this equation. And the other thing that keeps them restless is the question of, what's going to happen if this spouse of mine now passes away? Am I going to continue paying for this because I did not bargain for this? There's a reason why I don't have additional children. So let us talk about the situation so that we can put your mind at ease and so that you can understand why this operates this way and how maybe for the ones that have not been in the situation can take certain steps to make sure that they are not going to be in the same boat. All right, guys, hello. So to the guys that are new here, welcome. We're glad to see you here, and we can see that you're anxious to listen to this discussion. Please stay with us. Come back. We always have these discussions. And to the guys that are coming here for the second time, third time, welcome back, guys. It's good to have you here. So again, we're here to talk about something within the legal sector that's keeping people restless, or that you should actually know. So by introduction, my name is Yolanda Mnyangeza. I'm an attorney and a director at a law firm here in South Africa, Johannesburg. So let's not waste time. Let's get into this discussion. So like I said, this one keeps people restless. The fact that someone could be made to pay maintenance for a child that they've got nothing to do with often is a stress factor, right, in a lot of marriages. Number one, let's talk about where this actually stems from. One, you have to understand that people who give birth to children have an obligation in terms of the law. They have an obligation to raise that child, which means to financially contribute towards raising the child. Now, as we know, it does happen that these two people who may just bring a child to life might not end up getting married to each other. So often they will have different spouses, and another will also have a different spouse. But then even so, those obligations don't go away. So if one is the one who's the primary caregiver, the other one who is not the primary caregiver has to pay a financial contribution to help raise that child, right? So it might happen that that particular person is your spouse. And in most instances, you'd find that the person, or the people rather, who are not primary caregivers will be the males, or rather the men in marriages. And then women often have primary caregiving, unless the circumstances are vice versa. So what this means then is that mostly the fathers have to contribute financially to raise those kids, meaning that they have to send money for maintenance to the mother of the child so that they can help raise the child, because that is what they are obligated to do. And it does happen that in some instances, just to make sure that everything is done without any people having commotions or complications, there's going to be a maintenance order here, right, which confirms this financial obligation, and it's going to state how much maintenance has to be paid towards this child being raised. Now, what then happens is that, people get married, and most of the time people will get married in community of property. And in a marriage in community of property, we're talking joint everything. We're joining debt, we're joining financial obligations, we're joining assets. So a person can no longer say, I have financial obligations. If a person or one of the spouses has a financial obligation, automatically, by virtue of the law, it's a financial obligation that is shared, because these people are regarded as one because of the type of marriage they're in. Now, how does this correlate with this situation of maintenance? So now remember, this spouse of yours has a financial obligation. That financial obligation happens to be maintenance that needs to be paid towards their child that they have with another person. Now, if this spouse of yours cannot then meet this financial obligation, Remember, you share in this financial obligation now because of the marriage. So it's going to mean that you are also affected by this. So hence then you become obligated to do what? To pay towards that maintenance. Does this mean now that you are now responsible to care for that child? No, it only means that you are assisting with the financial obligation of this marriage, of this home. Remember, we said that whatever financial obligation each one of you has forms part of this marriage. And so what you're doing when the spouse can't pay is that you're playing your part. And this is a joint situation. You've got an income, your spouse probably doesn't have an income. You have to then play your part and do what? And pay towards that financial obligation, because now it's a financial obligation of this marriage. This is then how people often end up paying towards the maintenance of their stepchildren. Does this mean that they are obligated to do so? Irrespective of the situation? No. It's only because of the fact that they are married to their spouse who has this child in community of property. Make sense? Now, can you prevent this from happening? Of course you can. Like I said, the reason why you are in this situation, you are now ending up to cover this financial obligation that your spouse, has in the form of maintenance, is simply because you were married to them in community of property. So to steer clear from this and not be affected by the situation, you'd have to be married to them out of community of property, which means that if they can't pay, those obligations are not going to affect you, because you have separate assets, you have separate debts, everything is separate. And so they will have to deal with that situation on their own. It's not going to affect you. Right? So the mistake is often made by people choosing a marriage or a type of marriage which then requires them to also be involved in all of these financial obligations of the other spouse. Now, there's a question that people often pose, and that is, what if now my spouse passes away and I have been carrying this financial obligation, right? I've been paying towards this maintenance because my spouse hasn't been working, and so I ended up now paying towards the maintenance. What's going to happen when my spouse now passes away? Now, as you know, when the spouse now passes away, financial obligations are going to be shared, because that's the end of the marriage now. So things are going to be split. But before that happens, before you get what you're entitled to, as you know, debts are going to have to be settled, right? Which means whatever other debts you have in terms of credit or any other form of debt, those need to be settled beforehand. And that's also going to include the maintenance aspect. It's going to have to be calculated as to how much the child is going to need, and this has to be settled by the estate, right, before you can get what is due to you. So which means that if there's no money in the estate and you want to save a property, you may just run around to try and get what is due for maintenance as per the calculation, so that you can give to the stepchild. But other than that, you are not going to be obligated to take care of anybody's child here. The reason that you had been involved in the first place is only because of the fact that you were married to their parent. So now that the parent has passed away, that financial obligation is going to be severed. It's got nothing to do with you. So there's no automatic relationship that has been established by virtue of you paying towards the maintenance. So you can rest assured that you're going to be free from that situation, and you're going to fly and live your life, right? So I hope this actually answers some of your questions around this particular topic. Listen, if you have more questions, you can just contact us, or rather comment in the comment section here below. We'll try to answer, but if we can't, maybe you'll have to contact us directly so we can talk to you. But that's the end of it, guys. Financial obligations form part of marriages, and it's unfortunate in this instance a financial obligation can come rather in the form of maintenance, but it doesn't mean that you're now the parent who's taking over. You're just being liable because you are married to either the mother or the father of that child. Guys, we'll see you next time. We hope this was helpful. My name is Yolanda Mnyengeza, and as you know, we come here every week to try and have these discussions. Come back. We'll see you next time.